All right, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining our monthly session. I'm part of the support team here at Engineerica, and we appreciate you guys for taking the time to join us today. Whether you're a longtime Accudemia user or this is your first webinar with us, we're happy to have you here. So our topic today, we're going to go over less clicking, better communication, as well as what's new in Accudemia. So I will first cover how successful centers communicate with students and reduce appointment no-shows. I'll then pass it over to Nick and our support team that will cover our new updates and new features and how you can utilize them for your center. And then we'll end with a general Q&A. Before we start with today's topic, I'd like to take a few minutes to share an exciting event that we're really looking forward to next year. We're going to be hosting an academic center summit in 2027 from February 7th through 9th in Orlando, Florida, near the University of Central Florida area. This is designed for professionals that are working in tutoring centers, advising centers, testing, and other academic support services. It's important for peers to connect across the country, share ideas and experiences. And throughout this conference, you can expect educational sessions, opportunities to network and connect with colleagues that are facing similar challenges with you. We're also going to go over how Accudemia supports their student and streamlines daily operations. So whether you're looking for new ideas or hoping to connect, this is a really great opportunity. We'll be sharing more information, but if you guys want to go ahead and register now, we're going to go ahead and drop that in the chat. But yeah, it's a really cool event, so we hope to see you guys there. And next month on August 6th, we have our famous keynote webinar series. We're going to have Anna Lennick, our speaker, and this is where you can explore practical strategies for cultivating student leaders who inspire persistence, model innovation, and positively influencing the students they serve. This will leave you with adaptable ideas for leveraging peer leadership to build institutional capacity while enriching the student experience. This is a completely complimentary webinar, but spots are limited. So if you guys would like to join, please go ahead and drop that link. It'll be August 6th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. All right, so I am from our business support side of our support team, and I'm going to go over increasing student engagement as well as communicating effectively with students, reducing appointment no-shows. We wanted to spend time on focusing on some common challenges that we notice from clients who reach out to us. And every institution has different policies and workflows. So these are common goals and things that you can adapt to your center to help communicate and reduce these no-shows. We'd also love to hear from you guys. So throughout this webinar, please drop your comments and we'll answer them all at the end. Appreciate it. All right, so we'll start by discussing some common communication challenges that academic centers face. This is particularly focusing on student engagement and reducing these no-shows. We've observed some operational strategies that work well with centers to create more consistent communication and a smoother day-to-day workflow. From there, we'll look at how Accudemia can help automate these processes to make it an easier, more consistent workflow and process for the students and staff. We'll finally wrap up by going over some of our new features and upcoming features that will also help in these everyday tasks. So once again, please feel free to ask any questions throughout the presentation. So first, I want to start off by asking this poll question. What is your biggest communication challenge that you face in your center? Do you focus mostly with appointment reminders, students not showing up, forgetting to sign in, or last-minute cancellations? We'll go ahead and put this poll up. All right, we've got appointment reminders, students not showing up, forgetting to sign in. All right, so the consensus seems to be students not showing up. All right. So students, from the moment a student schedules an appointment, there are several opportunities to keep them engaged and ensure that they actually do attend. They are more likely to attend when they have timely reminders, what they can understand from showing up to this appointment. Feeling connected to the support center is also something very valuable. Sometimes it's something as simple as an email reminder or a push notification, providing clear information about when and where their appointment is. Small touch points like this can help reduce uncertainty and make students feel more prepared. On the other hand, when a student misses an appointment, the impact extends beyond just that student. It can also affect the tutor's schedules and their time, leave appointment slots that could have been used by other students, and also affecting reporting and making it more difficult to accurately measure your center's utilization and center engagement. While no-shows can't be eliminated completely, having consistent communication and clear processes can go a long way in reducing them. So throughout the rest of this webinar, we're going to look at a few ways that you can utilize Accudemia to support those efforts and make those communication touchpoints more consistent and easier to manage. So what are successful centers doing to help? Successful centers don't just rely on one reminder. They communicate before appointments, after appointment, and when changes occur. Something we've noticed is that with a lot of no-shows, they aren't necessarily because the student doesn't want to attend. Sometimes the students simply forget or they're not sure where to go. They don't realize that they can reschedule if something comes up or canceling the appointment. So helping students stay informed before their appointment can reduce confusion and make it easier for them to attend successfully. Accudemia includes a couple tools to help with this process, including the appointment reminders, notification templates, scheduling rules, and email or SMS notifications, depending on your institution's setup. So preventing no-shows, making appointments easy to keep. On the support side, I've noticed that no-shows can happen for a couple reasons. One could be the appointment is scheduled weeks in advance. So there's actually a setting in the administration control panel on appointments where you can determine the minimum time someone can make an appointment and the maximum. So we've noticed that some centers have that set for 30 days. A month in advance, creating an appointment um, definitely would increase the chances of that student forgetting. So even if you have those reminders going out, if that reminder is an hour before the appointment starts, but they scheduled this appointment a month ago and they forgot, they might not be on campus, or they might just not be able to show up in that moment or make it on time. So even just by making this 7 days or 2 weeks in advance might reduce those chances of students making the appointment and forgetting about it. Additionally, maybe putting signs in the beginning of your center where students can check in with like a note on your kiosk screen, maybe just giving them that reminder would be beneficial. Another reason is that they can create unlimited appointments. This is also another setting that you can configure where you can limit the amount of appointments per week, per day, or the amount of hours that that student can schedule at a time. Um, if students can just schedule as many appointments as they want, there's not really a consequence if they are not deciding to show up. So while there are students who do forget or they don't know how to cancel an appointment, I'm sure that there's also students who are creating these appointments and then they just don't feel like showing up or it's an inconvenience to them or they've already solved their problem and maybe they don't communicate to the center or their tutors more effectively. So by making that they have a no-show for a couple times within a certain period that they can't create appointments could be a consequence that might reduce them from just making appointments and canceling them right away. Another reason could be that students didn't receive any reminders. This is also going to be under the appointment section, but we also have a notification setting in the control panel now where you can configure the delivery methods, so SMS, email, in web, and I think I said push, but push as well. And just configuring those to go out in different delivery methods might be more efficient. Speaking from my own personal experience, I respond the best to notifications that come right on my phone or through push notification or through messages. If it's somewhere in the web or on their email, students don't typically check those as often. So it might be more efficient to try a different delivery method. Um, Another reason could be if the students don't know how to cancel an appointment. So we actually have an AI assistant, Wiggins, who could answer some of these common questions that students might have. So even if maybe you pushed an email notification out to all students saying like, hey, if you guys ever had a question on how to use Accudemia, you can refer to the help center and ask a question there. That might reduce the miscommunications between students or maybe them not showing up because they don't know how to cancel an appointment. It'll also then allow those time slots to be opened. We've also noticed that sometimes having the appointment reminders too close or too far away from the appointment can cause those issues. If you have the appointment to go out an hour before, maybe the student isn't on campus and they're far away, and like I said, they don't think they'll make it on time. And if it's too far in advance, then maybe they'll forget throughout the day. So kind of just finding that happy medium and sweet spot. Making follow-ups easy, communication after appointments. One thing we don't really think about is what happens after a student leaves. The appointment may be over, but that doesn't necessarily mean the conversation has to end. Following up after appointments gives centers another opportunity to engage students, reinforce the support they received, and encourage them to return if they need additional assistance. It can also help reduce administrative questions. So sometimes students wonder, did my appointment get recorded? Does my instructor know that I attended? How do I ask another question? So even just having small follow-up communications can answer many of those questions automatically. Also, just by communicating more with the students helps build a stronger relationship with them and might encourage them to attend the center more. Sometimes, even just them noticing that you're paying attention to their meeting and you're following up and you're asking how it's going, using session assessments to kind of address like what that student needs specifically to learn the best. Really catering that experience student by student can really make a world of a difference and encourage them to really come. And altogether, by having all of these things attributed to your center, will hopefully increase retention rates, center traffic, and just the center support that you need. So, uh, poll question: what feature does your center use the most to follow up with students? Do you use surveys, session assessment forms, email notifications, other, or none? All right, we've got surveys, emails, none, session assessment forms, but we're leaning more towards surveys. I really do like the surveys as well because you can cater those specifically for your students and you can ask how many questions you want and how you want. So it seems mostly surveys. We've got about 10% for session assessment forms, 10% emails, 10% none. So yeah, we're going to go over some of those different methods, and maybe if you use surveys and you don't use session assessment forms or notifications, maybe you can learn something from one of the others or vice versa for some of those other ways to follow up with your students. Um, all right. So one small change can make a difference. Student engagement isn't only about reminding students to attend appointments, it's about creating a connected experience before, during, and after every visit. By automating confirmations, collecting feedback, and providing simple ways for students to ask these follow-up questions, centers can strengthen communication while reducing administrative work for staff. All right, so for session assessments and surveys, collecting feedback from students or tutors after a session can create the opportunity for improvement. These responses can help measure satisfaction, evaluate tutoring effectiveness, or support relating initiatives. We've really found with surveys, you can cater them to specifically what you want to see. So I think even just asking your students, what method do you learn best? Is it audio? Is it visual? Is it hands-on? Just asking these to create a more catered experience can really help them learn the best. And by kind of identifying these weak points that these students are experiencing can help you, modify your center to what they would need. Session assessments are also great because after a student and a tutor are having an appointment together, just leaving those notes about how the student was doing, measuring their attentiveness can really nip those problems in the bud where maybe you notice the student was dozing off, they're not paying attention, or maybe they were having a hard time with something specifically. Keeping those things and tracking them over time is a great thing to look back at as well to see the progress for within a student in those appointments, as well as looking at the session notes and looking at those previous visits, like I said, can just really help with that student experience. Support Dropbox. Surprisingly, um, this isn't something that I have seen people utilize as much as they could. So if someone has an appointment, yes, there's surveys and yes, there's session assessments, but also referring students to use a support Dropbox is a really cool feature to use. This is something that if the student is done with the appointment and they have a couple follow-up questions on something they thought about later or something they still had trouble with, or they can submit an essay question, or they can upload a file. They could even submit a picture of a problem that they're having. This is a really great way for tutors and students to communicate and to kind of address those issues based on. So that way, maybe they're not making a bunch more of appointments to answer one question, which will then leave more time slots for those other students who may need more attention. And yeah, this will just help them get more clarification on the review material and creates another opportunity for staff to provide support. Yep, and this has the possibility of increasing attention and appointment rates. So session confirmation notifications. This is actually tying into one of our new features that we are about to go into shortly. But this is a new feature where we can send a confirmation email receipt to the student and tutor when a session is marked completed. This is going to include information about like the time of the appointment, how long it was, what service it was for, the tutor they saw. It's basically a summary of that appointment all in one after sent to the student and the tutor, and can also be included for the admin. This is really good because keeping the record of how this appointment went and some of the specific details can help students address it specifically. So if a student needed to be at an appointment for an hour, if they were like an at-risk student or like a student athlete and they needed a certain amount of hours in the center, sometimes things get misconfigured, they don't sign out, maybe it doesn't record the appointment all the way. So if they receive this session confirmation receipt, they can verify whether it matched their appointment details in that moment, and then they can address it and get those session logs resolved. This is also good to help keep the integrity of the tutors. We had actually someone who suggested this say that their tutor was lying about a student showing up to the appointment and they were getting paid per appointment. So this kind of just helps keep a record and increases that trust. So this is how our new feature will help with this. This will help automate the process, sending the confirmation, improving transparency, reducing follow-up questions, to better documentation for students and tutors, and less manual communication for staff.